Hello, my name is Bria, and I have POTS. I'm not going to sit here and explain what it is because I feel like if you're watching this video, you already know what it is and you probably have it. um, I first got POTS in 2020. Um, I think I would have been 27 at the time. That's my cat Bella in the back. And I think it was around October or November I started noticing symptoms. And well, the first symptom I actually noticed was after I had tubal surgery back in March of 2020. And the first thing I noticed was when I was at the gym, every time I would do anything relating to like weights in any way with my arms, I would start getting palpitations, and that's kind of like the first thing that I noticed. And of course, I was like, well, what is this? So I went to the doctor and explained it, and they were like, oh, you're just feeling your heart rate for the first time. Like, you're just noticing it. Like, no, that's not what that is, but whatever. I just left it at that because it wasn't anything crazy. Fast forward to around like November-ish, maybe the end of October, I started noticing a lot more of those heart palpitations, as well as like, just being out of breath and just not feeling well, feeling really hot for no reason, to the point where I thought I was like constantly having a fever. And I went to the ER a few times. Um, and nobody knew, like, blood work and all that. Everyone goes through this that has some sort of like chronic illness that isn't easily diagnosed. Even though this one honestly should be, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, so I went in multiple times, had blood work done multiple times, complained about heart rate and just weakness, and also tremor that I developed, which I still have today. And nobody knew what was wrong. And there was this one girl I seen, I think, like, fast forward 2 years, in 2022, I think it was. It may have been 21, like late 21, but I think it was in 2022. I seen a doctor, completely different doctor, at like a clinic, and she was like, I'm noticing your heart rate speeding up when you're upright and not as fast when you're sitting down. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And so from there, I guess she kind of got a little bit worried, so she sent me to the emergency room, and I got hooked up to all the heart stuff and whatever, but they were like, yeah, you're fine, you can leave. So there was nothing I could do about that, and that doctor didn't have like patients. She wasn't taking in any new patients, so I couldn't see her again. So it was like kind of around that time when I was like, okay, well, like, what would cause that? Because no one was helping me, so I had to just Google it myself for 4 years. And that's pretty much like it consumed my life. Like, I was just Googling and Googling and Googling, and it like literally I developed, sorry, like health anxiety, because I was just so obsessed with finding the answer, finding like what's wrong with me. After so many doctors like, oh yeah, it's just anxiety, you're just depressed, you're just like in fight or flight mode all the time. Here's some antidepressants, try this. It was just, that's how it was for the first like 3 years. And nothing helped. So, all I had was Google. And eventually I started reading about POTS, and that's kind of like when things started kicking off for me. And my actual family doctor was like no help at all. But she did end up giving me a referral to a cardiologist, which ended up diagnosing me last September. So September of 2024. But by that point, like, I was already 100% positive that I had POTS. And, but when I did get the diagnosis, like, officially being told, like, hey, this is what's wrong with you. Hey, I believe you. You know, you're not crazy. It's not just anxiety. I'm not trying to throw, like, pills at me to fix, you know, fake problems. It was really validating, and, you know, it just was so nice to hear someone say, you know what, you're not crazy. Because you know, after being told that, like, not literally saying, like, doctors saying, oh, you're crazy, but, like, completely dismissing the reality of my situation and trying to say that it was, like, anxiety and stuff like this, it just, you know, it makes a person start to believe that they're crazy, you know? And so it was just so nice to finally have a doctor say, like, I believe you. And the proof is right here. I'm seeing the proof. And it was just so good. I never did have a tilt table test. All he did was like a stress test. That's basically what he did, and a poor man's, whatever it's called, stress or poor man's test. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. But yeah, so we kind of just did that, and that was all it was. And right there and then, finally diagnosed. And yeah, and honestly, there's so much in between all of that. Like, things that I believe that kind of led up to it, or, you know, may have caused it and stuff. But I'll leave that bigger explanation for another video. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of my story. You know, if anyone watches and is interested in hearing more or talking about anything, just comment. And yeah, thanks for watching.